Marc Clair here for Bounding into Comics. Did you see all the hoopla over these comic book professionals who have been mocking and denying the complaints of a veteran comic shop owner about the abysmal state of the comic book market? This is an article from Spencer Bakuli over at Bounding into Comics. You can check out the link in the description for this video. This has been all the rage the last week. This clip of the comic shop owner first talking to one of his customers in a weekly video series that he does, who made some comments about the state of the industry, how a lot of these writers are trying to insert their message into comics, stuff that people, especially people on this website and many other platforms, have been saying for years, but this one finally kind of went viral and caught the world by storm, you could say, our small section of the comic book internet, you might say, and it caught the attention of a number of comic book pros. And I want to scroll down to, you can read this whole article and see what the hoopla was all about, but I want to go right to the reaction of Donny Cates, someone whose work I did enjoy on Thor, a little bit on Venom, not so much on Venom to be honest, but he really did become, for at least the last 3 or 4 years, before Jason Aaron kind of took that lead spot, as one of Marvel's top writers. He still really is one of Marvel's top writers. And what he said, he sent out a tweet, which we'll find right down here. He says, "Don't you guys hate when you go into a hardware store, how the guy behind the counter always tells you how much hammers suck?" Now, of course, what Donny Cates is trying to imply here is that a comic book store owner shouldn't be telling his customers that the product sucks because he is there to just sell the product. Now, I would take issue with this analogy in the first place, because actually, if I go to a hardware store, especially if it's a local hardware store, not Home Depot or Lowe's, maybe it's my local corner hardware store, and I got to know my guy Mike over the last 3 years, and he's been selling me everything I need. He's been selling me screwdrivers, he's been selling me drills. This is obviously a fictional version of me. I don't buy any of this stuff in real life, of course, but let's just imagine for a moment that I have become a trustworthy customer of Mike's. I know that he's going to sell me products that work. And then one day, Mike realizes the hammers don't work. The heads just fall off. You take one swing and the thing falls apart. They're completely useless. Donny Cates actually is trying to say that Mike shouldn't tell me that the hammers are broken. In fact, he shouldn't even report on what his customers are telling him, because this is what he's hearing from all his customers as well, that the mainstream comic book market is broken, that writers are being brought on who are not even fans of the medium, they're often not even fans of the characters, and they don't care. They openly state that they don't care. They openly state they're there to insert their message. But as O'Leary pointed out in the video, nobody cares. Nobody cares how you would be Tony Stark, I believe was one of the examples he used. Nobody cares how you, a certain writer who had whatever background you may have, nobody cares how you would be Moon Knight. We care how Moon Knight would be Moon Knight. Moon Knight, maybe not the best example, it's more of a niche character, but Moon Knight has its own following for a reason, because it's a unique character. Tony Stark, Iron Man, has his own following for reasons, because he's a unique character. Nobody cares how I would be Tony Stark, how you would be Tony Stark, how anybody but the character of Tony Stark would be Tony Stark. And that's what's been lost in mainstream comics for the large part nowadays. And the fact that Donny Cates, look, he doesn't have to agree with the state of the industry. He must think the state of the industry is wonderful. He must think all the books out there is great. And that's fine. He can have that opinion. But to say that the comic store owner should not be reporting on the findings of himself and his customers about the state of the product. The hammers are broken. The hammers are broken. And yes, if my hammers aren't working, I want my comic store owner and my hardware store guy, my fictional hardware store guy, I want them to let me know so I don't buy a broken hammer. But Donny Cates would just have you go and just keep buying broken products, broken books. It doesn't matter. Just keep showing up and buy the product, because that's what we're supposed to do. Well, times are changing, and I think it was Mark Millar who actually said that in a tweet that this was a Spartacus moment, that Glenn O'Leary was the Spartacus of, now of course, This is not a new thing. Plenty of people have been out there talking about this for years, but this one did get pretty big and has garnered the response from, well, let's just say, all the right people. This has been Marc Clair with Bounding into Comics. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap that little notification bell so you don't miss any of the great content over at Bounding into Comics.